Welcome to Liquid Lunch, coming at you live. I don't even know what day it is. Sandra, what day is it today? It's June
6th. Is it June 6th? It's June 6th.
June the 6th.
7th. 5th.
7th.
Oh,
5th.
it's June.
It's one of those days. It's our first show.
Okay, June
Right?
5th. Oh my God. It is definitely a Tuesday. That I can say for sure.
But it feels like, I just got back into town last night from Quebec City, Montreal.
Wow.
It was great.
What were you doing over there?
Just a visit in Quebec City with family.
You have family from Quebec?
They're in Montreal. But we went
Do they
to Quebec
speak
City. Some of them.
Yeah. Do they speak French well? Maybe that's the
I wasn't even speaking French.
Okay, let's hear it.
No. But I'll tell you, I was speaking French. And I got to say.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Anyway, it was great. Had a great time. And Quebec City is awesome. And the people there were really great. I mean, people were really friendly and
Nice.
had a great time.
So no feeling of separation, no separatist movement happening there?
Well, I don't know.
No?
It wasn't a political visit, so people were just in a good mood.
Now, did they understand your French, Hugh?
Yeah.
They did?
Well, I wanted to be bilingual. I actually
good for you.
lived in Quebec City for a while.
Wow.
And to learn French and worked in a French environment.
So I grew up in Sudbury, which is
yeah,
50% French.
And Welland's also quite French, where I'm from, my hometown.
Is that right? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. So I can't speak French to save my life. And when I try, nobody understands it. So it's like an English person speaking French with a really bad French dialect. And so nobody understands it.
Well, you have to get it. You have to
I know.
really... And it's very unique, French. The way that it sounds,
Yes.
how you make those sounds is very... For an English-speaking person, it's difficult.
There's a way you roll your tongue. There's the way
All that
you
stuff.
frame your mouth when you say things. And if you don't know how to do that, they don't understand, which fair enough.
Yeah.
Even I know within Spanish, there's something they do with their tongue going up to the palate behind their teeth when they say like the, so there's no
things.
the.
Yeah.
There's really no the in the language. So, and when I try to learn that, I'm just twisted. I can't do it because I did not grow up with forming my tongue that way.
Right.
It's really
I know.
wild.
It's a very strange thing.
I have to
the
say,
whole English thing.
I feel a little bit out of place today.
Why?
Because you're wearing red and black. Our second guest is wearing red and black. And I swear to God, I was going to wear red and black today. And I thought, no, I don't want to wear red and black today. I really feel I should have wore red and black. Now I'm going to just feel like a fish out of water here today.
Oh, well.
But that's okay. I'm
It's
wearing
okay.
white.
Well, we got some new technology here in the studio. And,
I know, isn't that exciting?
It's exciting, but we were kind of cramming it last minute
I know.
to get it working.
I know.
But it's working.
First time we're going to do it. For me, it's the first time doing a Skype interview today, too.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very cool. So I don't really know where to look, but that's cool.
Well, why don't we
figure
get
it out.
busy? Because we do have our first guest is
Sounds good.
on the line from Ottawa. We got Shelley Ann Clark. She has written a book called The Sale of a Country, that country being Canada.
Wow.
Because she was involved in the free trade.
This is not a positive news story, is this?
Well, we're going to find out all the details from Shelley Ann when we come back in just a couple of minutes.
Wow. Sounds really interesting.
And also, we've got another author, Nancy Erb Kee, is here today.
Oh, my God.
She's written this book right here.
Wow.
Yeep, there it is. Nancy Ford Inman, The Unusual Life and Times. So we're looking forward to
We have a lot of
having
authors
discussion about
today.
that.
This is going to be a very intellectual show.
And we also have Jake Tiley coming in. Jake is a trader. I'll just say that.
Like a stock market trader?
Financial trader. And I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about with Jake, but I'm sure it will have something to do with the markets.
Well,
and,
one thing we know, it's very interesting times in the markets.
Well, I don't know what they're doing today, but it's very interesting, yes, because the unsustainable system is starting to wobble.
Well, it's becoming more and more unsustainable, right?
Well,
It must be a really, trading, from what I understand, traders, it's a really stressful way to make a living. But I can only imagine that right now would be probably worse than ever.
Well, it depends because you can short.
You can what?
You can short sell. You can bet on the market going down and still make money.
Wow. Oh my God, you can spin it any way you want, can't you?
That's what derivatives are, yeah.
Wow. Wow, it's going to be a real education for me because I know nothing about this.
Well, okay, so shall we get busy? Because we got
shall.
Shelley in.
We
We're
shall.
going to take a quick break. We got Josh Gabriel as the music.
Yay.
Let's play some Josh, and we're going to come back with Shelley Ann Clark talking about her book, The Sale of a Country. We'll be right back here on Liquid Lunch.
June 5th.
Always trying to make your stand. Sell it like you're some kind of medicine man. But if we try to lend a hand, will it may mess up your plans? Oh, ooh, so busy waiting for a moment to see just exactly who you are gonna be. Made up your mind to tell a tale, and I'd say that line don't suit you too well. No, 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 no. So no, you're not the only one who makes small mistakes. But I know now wasn't only two times I got played. So what was he told her anyways? Now you're telling me the truth now, and all the things that you say. If you feel you owe me a drive here and there, you're wrong once again, my friend, 'cause I don't really care. Just open up your eyes, man, and someday you'll see. 'Cause as they say, the truth someday shall set you free, baby. Ooh, ooh,
And welcome back to the show. Little Josh Gabriel there on
That's
Liquid Lunch
really
today.
nice music.
It is.
I love it.
I like that guy, Josh.
It's chilling out music. Nice voice, nice soothing voice. Yeah. We should have him on the show.
Well, he's been here before.
We'd
And
have to
he
have him
will
again then.
Be again.
Okay.
But right now we got Shelley and Clark on the line on the Skype from Ottawa. Shelley, great to have you on the show.
Hi, Shelley.
Hello, everyone. So glad that we finally got it all sorted out. This is the book that by now has gone around the world. It has been sent to key contacts all around the world because they are having the same problems that we're having in this country. The reason I wrote the book is that many people complained that they could not retain all the information I was giving them when I was guest speaking across the country. There was so much information to give out that it was absolutely impossible for people to retain it all, or for me to even take deep dents into the history and why the book was called The Sale of a Country.
Okay, Shelley, before we get into that, like the book's called The Sale of a Country, and just tell us, like give people an introduction, what was your role in the free trade negotiations that gave you the insider view, that gave you the information to write this book? I think it's important that people know that.
I was the executive assistant to the third highest negotiator. Now, usually it would have been Simon Reisman, the number one, that would have been dealing with Mulrooney. But in this case, I had a hands-on everything, because Mulrooney actually parachuted in this Frenchman to do his dirty work. And because of that, I was in the office at midnight at night, shredding documents that they didn't want the provincial premiers to see. I was the main contact. I was the center of the communications center for all other government departments, especially senior level department officials from the Privy Council office, from the Prime Minister's office, from the Minister's office at the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. If anyone wanted any information, I was the person that they had to call. This created a lot of jealousy and upset within the office, because it should have all gone through Simon Reisman, which was one of the first things that made me suspicious at what was going on, because there is a chain of command in these high-level offices, where Simon Reisman would have been the level of the minister, and of course the Prime Minister, if he needs information, goes to the minister level, and the minister, if he doesn't have the answer, goes to his deputy minister. So this person that was third down the line, I discovered shortly, a few months after he was there, that he had actually been parachuted in to do Mulrooney's dirty work.
Okay, so Shelley Ann, before we get any further, so just to be clear, just because it's a while ago now that the free trade went down, people may not remember it, and we got a whole new generation that is not even aware of it. But Simon Reisman, he was the chief negotiator for Canada, is that right?
That's correct, he was.
Now, and you were the secretary for this third person who was, they were from France?
No, he was from Montreal. He was a Montrealer. Of course, that explains why he was such a good buddy of Brian's. And he was French, and he came on board after there was an orchestrated event by many people, which I believe was orchestrated, complaining that at the top level positions in the Canada-USA Free Trade Negotiations Office, it was all Englishmen that were in charge. So after the fuss through the media that there was no one French there, Mulrooney parachuted in this person by the name of Germain Denis, and I was handpicked to be his executive assistant because of my years. I had already been some 25 years with the diplomatic corps. So I had a top secret security clearance, and I was used to dealing with difficult, high-ranking people. So I went to the interview thinking that there would be other people interviewed, but I was in the interview 2 minutes when I was asked, when can you start? Can you start tomorrow?
So they already had it in the fixing. It was already fixed that you would get the job. You just didn't know it. Okay.
I just didn't know it. I just realized it after I was there, and I got it in 2 minutes flat.
Well, that's pretty good. Well, so they parachuted you in too.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Yes, I was parachuted in. I was working for the United Nations ambassador, Douglas Roche at the time, who was our UN ambassador in New York City, representing our position on disarmament. So it was difficult for me to leave a very good position that I really enjoyed, but I was offered a serious
Amount of money.
promotion. Not money directly, but a senior position and promotion at the end of it all. So in order to advance my career further, I accepted the job. And it was shortly thereafter that I realized that something was very, very wrong with our computer systems. Because we were doing top secret memoranda to the Prime Minister and to all cabinet members, no one who didn't have a top secret clearance could have access to those. What I discovered was one evening when one of the ministers needed a document that was on a secretary's desk, I did not have the password to get in, and I went to the person who brought in the GIAC system, and what he told me would have shaken every Canadian is when he said, well, the president of GIAC is the only one that has the God password, and I will call him up and I will get you the document that the minister needs. With that information, this was on a Friday night. On the Monday morning, I met with our top security people and told them that I was highly suspicious of this system because this was a private business. No one in private business should have had this God password that he called that had access. It was confirmed to me that with that God password, the president of this company had access to all the documents on all 110 computers in the Free Trade Office, including Simon Reisman's. So I demanded that they start investigating to know who the president was of this company. The security people told me that no, it wasn't worth an investigation. I was imagining all this, but I didn't give up. I went to the second in command, to Simon. I went to Mr. Gordon Ritchie, and Gordon Ritchie, who was a very brilliant man and very honest, had nothing to do with the wrongdoings that were going on in that office. I stress that. Ordered them to do an investigation. The report that came back informed us that the president of that GIAC corporation that had the God password was an American, using a Canadian company as a front for what they were doing. So Gordon Ritchie invited the top executives of GIAC to come and meet with me in Ottawa, and he told me that I was to make the decision after I spoke with them as to whether or not that system should stay or go. They had already, the federal government had already spent 1.2 million on that system, and back in 1986 that was a lot of money. I mean, today it would be nothing, but back then that was a lot of money. So I met Gordon Ritchie loaned me his executive meeting boardroom, and I met with these people for 2 hours. And at the end of the 2 hours, with all their technical jargon, I told them, I said, gentlemen, I'm only interested in one thing. A, confirm to me that your president can access every computer in the Free Trade Office, in the Canadian Free Trade Office, and B, that if GIAC set up an office across the street from us, they would have access to all our top secret documents and to all our strategies on the free trade documents. And I stood up and they said, yes, you're absolutely right. They confirmed that he did have the access, and that if they set up across the street, they would have been able to have all of our negotiating tactics to pass on to the Americans should they wish to do so. So with that, Gordon Ritchie ordered the entire system to be removed. And that was such a big thing at the time that actually, for once, our mainstream media functioned decently and properly and reported the entire incident on their front page. So bravo for the time when we had such a mainstream media, because now they will report on earthquakes, which are important, but they will not report on how piece by piece this country has been sold out. My book was written because my whistleblowing was falling on deaf ears. And when Dee Nicholson put that as the main title for the book review when she reviewed it, that was so appropriate. So I decided to make a list of everything of all the wrongdoings that had occurred while I was at the Free Trade Office, and how it sold us off piece by piece.
Okay, Shelley Ann, before you get into that, I just want to ask you, like, who was behind? So what you're saying essentially is that the free trade agreement that we ended up with was essentially a selling out of the country.
Yes.
And who was behind that? Who was
Mulrooney?
Well, who?
Well,
Shelley Ann.
behind Mulrooney, there would be the Trilateral Commission and the three most important families who want to have a one world government. We have three families that created this Trilateral Commission, and you would not believe the number of Canadian ministers that are on that list. When the Bilderbergs have a meeting here in Canada, there's a reason for it.
They actually meet here in Canada?
Well, they have met here in Canada.
Yes, they have met in Toronto, and
Wow.
their next meeting, I didn't get a chance to read my email, but I got a notice that they were meeting in Canada again, but I'm not sure where because I didn't have the time to read the email.
Okay, Shelley Ann, so in your experience during the free trade agreement, did you see any evidence to suggest that these families or the Trilateral Commission or any other groups, non-Canadian groups, were directly involved? Did you see any actual evidence of that?
No, I did not. I did not see their names on any document. I own what has brought us to the conclusion of this one world government is that free trade opens up the door for that. And some of the documents that I was reading, even though back in 1986 through to 1995, the words one world government were never used on any document that I ever saw. That the confirmation that they were behind it came to me in 1995. I read a document at Foreign Affairs. I was working for the United Nations World Summit on social development, which means that you are working to eliminate poverty. But that is not so, because from the documents that I read and the book that was written and published by Oxford University clearly states that to achieve a one world government, they have to get rid of the middle class. Why do they want to get rid of the middle class? Because we have enough money to survive, so we're not spending our time trying to wonder where our next meal is going to be. And we have the time to take on battles. And since I've taken on this battle since 1987, I have to tell you that it's all middle class people that have contacted me that want to take this country back and that are willing to fight for it.
Shelley, I have two questions for you. First, Mulrooney, was he aware of the plan, or was he just a puppet, or did he consciously take part in this? And number two, have you been threatened in any way? Has your life been threatened, or do you feel that your safety is compromised in any way?
I'll answer your first question first.
Okay.
About me. Since Brian Mulrooney should have been speaking with Simon Reisman and not my boss, who was the third one down the line, I have to assume that he was very much involved, because I was never allowed to take a lunch break in case the Prime Minister called my boss. And I had to find my boss wherever he was when the Prime Minister called. Now, to have the Prime Minister contact the third one down the line directly is not the normal chain of command. So that raised red flags. And for question number two, I've almost died twice since I started blowing the whistle. The first time was in Vienna, Austria. What the Department of Foreign Affairs did is that I filed a complaint so that I could use the resources and the tools of my union, because we're all unionized when you're in the federal government. I believe that the union was going to be my tool to bring the information about the sale of our country to people who would then take it to the RCMP for investigation to do something about it. Imagine my shock, and you will see that in my book. A letter, I left the union with a complete report on all the activities that were going on in the Free Trade Office, all the wrongdoings, and I gave them all the evidence they needed to go to the RCMP. When I brought the document to them, they insisted that 4 of them met me at 8 o'clock in the morning. And by 8:30, I had been told to go home, that they would have to bring this to the president of the union because they didn't know what to do with it. It was too explosive. 24 hours later, a messenger, a courier service arrived at my door, and they returned my document with a cover letter telling me to destroy it, as it would be highly dangerous for anyone involved. So they ordered me to destroy it immediately. But I didn't. I figured that if I was going to be in any trouble, I would at least have the evidence to show why I was in trouble. The second thing the union did is, well, first of all, they did not go to the RCMP. They did not report it to anyone. The second thing they did is they negotiated with Foreign Affairs to send me out of the country. Brian Mulrooney, apparently, it was reported to me by the number 2 at the union that Brian Mulrooney contacted the union and ordered them to meet with him ASAP. When they met with him, they said, listen, we want Foreign Affairs to give her the promised promotion. And number 2, we want Foreign Affairs to keep her out of the country for at least 8 years. So you do what you have to do and make sure that Foreign Affairs gets her out of Canada for the next 8 years. I guess that was going to buy them time, you see.
Did that happen? Did that happen?
Yes, it did. The first offer I was given, I turned it down. The first offer was to a third world country. And I was brought into a meeting in a boardroom with only one head of human resources, who showed me slides that I was going to be made the ambassador, because they believed that, of course, I would never refuse being an ambassador somewhere, to a third world country. And as the ambassador, I would have the chauffeur and the cooks and all that goes with it.
So they tried to entice you.
They tried to entice me, but what turned me off was when I got the piece of information that one mistake, the food, first of all, I would be given money from the Treasury Board Secretariat. They're the people that hand out the money to the government when the budget is created. They give each department the money that is required, and they were going. There's some of that money at Foreign Affairs that is slotted as bribe money, because in those third world countries, when the Canadian aircraft would land to deliver our Canadian food, it would be taken over by soldiers, and we had to bribe the soldiers with money to get our food off the plane. And if you were unsuccessful, well, you had to do without. Still, there was the danger that a lot of the food that was brought in by the locals would be used, and if it wasn't washed a certain way with a certain product and you ate it, you would die of some kind of poisoning that would show up as natural causes. So when I was given all that information, I figured, boy, what a nice and neat way to get rid of me. One of the cook will accidentally put the wrong stuff on my food, and in 48 hours I'll be dead. So I absolutely, no matter what threats, because they said, if you don't accept this assignment, Shelley Ann, you're going to lose your job. You know, you're not going to be able to stay. You're gonna lose your job. And I said, well, then I'll lose my job, because I am not going to go to a third world country. So then Mulrooney got involved again, and it took 1 year for my union to negotiate that I could go to a Western world country where everything was supposed to be safe. The food was supposed to be safe, like Vienna, Austria. They said that's a beautiful place in Vienna, Austria. You know, you'll be fine there. Your food doesn't have to be prepared in any special way. What they did not tell me, and I found out after I was there, is that the ambassador that they sent me to work for was a CSIS agent, one of our Canadian Services Intelligence Service, were the people, was the ambassador that was in place to work with me over there. But when I arrived there, I was not aware of that information. And I guess 1 month after my arrival, the ambassador threw a big reception in my honor. And at that reception, I was assigned a military colonel to look after me. And he kept serving me my drinks and my food. When I went home that night, I got violently ill, and I thought, oh well, it was just, you know, mixing drinks or having food that had gone bad or something. But I went to see a doctor, and I was only allowed to see an Austrian doctor. I was not allowed to see a Canadian doctor that was at the immigration office, or the American doctor that was at the American embassy. So a doctor would give me medication, and I would get worse and worse. After 4 weeks of this, I was passing out all over the place. I couldn't even hold a cup of coffee in my hand. I couldn't go into work. I was passing out all over my apartment. So I finally called Ottawa, and I was fortunate enough that my assignment officer, who was a woman who obviously was aware of my situation, told me to hold tight, that she was going to send a Canadian doctor to look into my situation. When that Canadian doctor arrived, he saw $700 worth of medication on my floor. And when he checked the contents, all the medication that had been given to me had been aimed at bringing down my potassium level to 0. And once you're at 0, you die. So the Canadian doctor reported back to Ottawa, and my human resources officer contacted me immediately and said, you're not to touch anything that they give you, and we're going to have this doctor put you on your feet, and we're going to send you airline tickets for you and your 2 sons, and we're going to bring you back on an emergency flight. Well, it took 2 days to bring me up so I could even stand to get to the airport. And then the doorbell rang, and they had sent the administrator that worked for that ambassador. And he looked very, very nervous, and he could not look me in the eye, but extremely upset. So I said to him, what's going on? He said, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but I have no choice. My job is on the line. That you have here 3 tickets to bring you and your 2 sons back to Ottawa tomorrow morning. But I cannot give you the tickets unless you sign a letter stating that you will not blame the federal government for what you have suffered over here in Vienna, for your bad health. So I wanted to live because of my 2 kids. So I signed the letter saying that they were not to blame for my condition, and I was flown back to Ottawa. I was flown into the Ottawa Civic Hospital, and I had some friends waiting for me there, and after they spoke to the doctor, it was confirmed that if I had stayed there an additional 24 hours, my potassium would have been at 0, and I would have been brought back to Ottawa in a body bag. So that's only one of the many stories I have, because it could take all day. There's so much. I am writing a book on all of it, and it's going to be called Fighting Shadows.
Okay, Shelley, and we don't have a lot of time left here, but this was a while back when the free trade went through. What's your assessment of where we are as a country now? And you also mentioned that this is happening in other countries.
Yeah.
It's not just Canada that this is happening to, but everywhere. What's your assessment of the situation today with Stephen Harper, the current Prime Minister?
Well, my assessment is that Stephen Harper is more dangerous than all the other prime ministers that we've had.
And why is that?
Because definitely there has been evidence of him meeting with the 3 families, and especially he's always invited to the Bilderberg meetings. And in my book, it will give you a list of everything that we have lost in this country since the free trade has occurred. People are trying to tell you, oh, the Canada-USA free trade agreement with Canada was, that's old news, it's water under the bridge. Well, it isn't water under the bridge. I lay out in the book everything. We've lost our sovereignty. They have, we have lost, we're losing our water. We're harmonizing our health care. And there's a whole list. So this book actually gives you a checklist of everything that has been done since the free trade went through. So please don't believe anyone when they tell you that it's water under the bridge and it's old news.
From what you described to me, it sounds like it's not just about the sale of Canada is not just about the free trade agreement. It's about the sale of Canada to a one world government, correct?
Yes.
So it's beyond just the free trade agreement.
Shelley, what can we do about it?
doors. What can we do about it?
Yeah.
Well, that's the unfortunate part, because I don't have the funding, to travel across the country and to motivate people that if we don't do something in the next year, then we'll never be able to do something about it. The time is now before everything goes through. Stephen Harper has just signed that agreement with China, a free trade agreement with China, that is compromising all of our security systems. We're going to be spied on by everyone. Now, it would take not 1,000 or 2,000 people to gather on Parliament Hill or to have not riots, but to have gatherings everywhere in the country and demand change. Start at the provincial level, because they're involved. Like the Calgary, Alberta that I knew back in the 90s when I was speaking there has completely changed, because as you know, Stephen Harper comes from Alberta, and that entire province has completely gone blue, and they're backing up everything. So every province would have, the people in each province would have to get together. We need several million people to make a difference.
I'm not sure if, Shelley, I'm not sure if you mentioned, but did you actually mention the name of the three families? Did I miss that? The names of because maybe if people looked up the families as well, it might give people some information as to what's going on besides reading your book.
Yes, well, there is the Rothschild.
The Rothschilds?
Yeah, the Rockefellers.
The Rockefellers.
And the Bilderbergs.
And the Bilderbergs. Okay, so those are the three families. I think that if people read your book and look up these families, they'll probably be able to put, two and two together.
Shelley, listen, so I guess one of the things people can do is read your book and get informed about what happened, and give them some ideas about what they might be able to do. Is that right?
Yes, because in the book there is an open letter to the Prime Minister, and that letter has the checklist of everything that's gone wrong in this country. And with that checklist, they should be able to form groups and fight the individual items. Like our justice system is a just us system, for example. And what about the water? What they're rerouting our water to the states.
Okay, Shelley, how can people get their hands on the book?
Okay, they can, if they want an autographed copy, they can write to H as in Harry, F as in Frank, C as in Canada, 2420 Bank Street, BANK, suite number 44, Ottawa, Ontario, K1V 8, S as in Sam 1, Canada. The price is $40 for the autographed copy. But if they don't feel that they want an autographed copy, they can go to the Ex Libris. It's orders at exlibris.com. And Ex Libris is spelled XLIBRIS. So if you visit the Ex Libris website, there is a section of it that's to order books. And the book number, I will give it to you. I think I have it here. I have it somewhere. Oh dear. It's an ISBN number that you need to order it. ISBN 978-14653-4140-2.
Okay, and Shelley, do you have a website or something where people can get in touch with you or see your work?
Yes, well, I will give you an email address and a website. I have a blog called ShelleyAnnClarkSpeaksOut.com, and I have an email address that's ShelleyAnn.Clark3@gmail.com.
Okay.
So they're welcome to email me with any question, If they didn't get the information and want to know how to get the book, I'll be only too happy to provide them whatever information they ask for.
Okay, Shelley Ann, great to have you on the show today. Too bad we didn't do this in person, but maybe next time, we'll have less trouble with the train schedules and that sort of thing.
But thank you, Shelley Ann, for being such a valiant soul and being a whistleblower on behalf of Canada, and for putting your life at risk and doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Okay, Shelley. So we'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot for doing this. And we're going to take a little break now.
Okay.
And come back with
Well, after that, I
Nancy
can
Erb
do a
Kee.
bit of a break. That's pretty heavy-duty stuff. Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So let's play some music, some Josh Gabriel, and we'll put the picture of the book up, and we shall carry on right here on Liquid Lunch.
No.
And welcome back to the show. Little Josh Gabriel there, and we're now joined at the table here with Nancy Erb Kee, who wrote this book right here. The Unusual Life and Times of Nancy Ford Inman. And it's sort of that's a biography that you've written, but it's also a bit of an autobiography,
yes,
right?
yeah.
So do you want to, let's just, let's kind of ease into this story,
Okay.
Nancy. But what's the story of the book and Nancy Ford Inman and your relationship with her?
Well, Nancy Ford Inman was an amazing person who did all sorts of things throughout her long life. She lived through the entire 20th century almost. And she traveled around the world, particularly in the 20s, 30s. She was born from an English family in Japan, and she spoke Japanese fluently because her parents used to entertain Japanese businessmen, and she would run around and help them entertain in her funny little way. As I say, she traveled around the world. She was the first woman down a silver mine in New South Wales in Australia. She wound up in 1930, I guess it was, in LA, and Paramount said that they would give her a contract to write, but the Depression, the Great Depression, sort of landed on her, and she had to catch a bus across the country and finally a plane home, not a plane, a ship home. Now, she did all this, and she was a writer for 64 years, in spite of her cerebral palsy. Fortunately, or unfortunately, she had the least severe. She was spastic. But this meant that all her movements were very awkward. She had a brilliant brain, but her movements were awkward. Her breathing was, a bit like this. So when she was sent to school, her grandmother's private school, the parents, she got along very well with the girls. They thought she was marvelous because she could write all their essays for them. But the parents wanted her taken out of the school because she looked awkward, and they didn't want their children to be exposed to anyone who looked awkward.
So the parents of the other children were
Yes, of
talking.
the other children.
Okay,
So
okay.
she was taken out of... Now, I forgot to tell you that her father, who was really a marvelous man and insisted from the time she was born in a very difficult situation, and she caught meningitis when she was 2, and from that she got cerebral palsy.
Okay.
But her father insisted that she was to be treated perfectly normally. Now, that meant that she was growing up with her parents in Japan, but was away from the doctors in London who could have helped her to move more easily and to breathe better and so on. But her father suddenly died of pneumonia when she was 13, and her mother had a nervous breakdown and then took her to China. And this was during the First World War. And so from China, they left and sailed to England midst bombs and things crashing into the sea around them, and fortunately they got to England. And that's when she was put into her grandmother's private school and then pulled out. Her mother had a nervous breakdown totally and was hospitalized in a place called Bedlam Hospital, and anybody who...
Oh, we've heard about that.
Yeah, well, that was it. And she committed suicide. So this poor little girl of 14 was on her own with a grandmother, with her other grandmother, her father's grandmother, who was a very difficult woman. And that was the end of her formal education, but she certainly went on to study herself, and she taught herself to write. She had all sorts of rejections at first, and in the book there's the wonderful story of how she was finally accepted. Well, her story was accepted and published, and then they published everything else after that. But I met her in 1957 when as I say, I was a starving actress, a Canadian actress. I went over to London because I'd always wanted to go to London, and I'd finished a tour of a Shakespearean tour through Ontario, the schools in Ontario, and so I thought I was all set for the West End. Here I went.
You're a serious
Absolutely.
theatre actor now.
This was it. But I happened to meet an old English actress, very old, called Zilla Carter, I should say. And she was a very large woman with a very booming voice. And she took me under her wing. And when she heard I was going to England, she said, well, you must go and see my great friend Nancy Ford Inman. And she sent a letter to Nancy. So when I did get to England, when I finally had the courage to go into London and try and find a place to live, I got in touch with Nancy. And I had forgotten that Zilla told me that Nancy actually was spastic. So when this very tall, thin woman awkwardly came down the stairs to meet me with her permanent cigarette stuck out of her mouth, with the ash just dripping off the end.
Wow.
And sort of, I was a bit taken aback, I must admit. But I very quickly grew to understand, to follow her speech patterns very easily. And she was fascinating. And she had so many stories to tell. And I lived with her, as it turned out, for over a year. And we became very good friends. In fact, she was like a second mother to me, really.
Wow.
And when I'd get into all sorts of crazy nonsense in London, and Nancy was always there to say, you can't do this or you mustn't do that. It was funny, when I was writing this book, my daughter said, now you must make her very, very sweet. And I said, Nancy, sweet? Anybody who suffers and goes through what she does and comes out with such a wonderful spirit and accomplishes isn't sweet. They can be fun, and she was a gutsy lady. She was tremendous, and she was forthright, and she was kind. She was generous to a great fault, actually.
But not quite sweet?
Not sweet. I mean, I think of saccharine as sweet. She certainly wasn't. And she would tell me when things were wrong, believe me.
Wow.
It was wonderful.
So she was a writer primarily?
Yes, she was. She was fascinated with the theatre, and she was became a friend of Sir Laurence Olivier and Vivien Leigh, and that's how Zilla Carter got in touch with Nancy, because she put Zilla up, who was working in a show with Laurence Olivier and Vivien Leigh. And she had written a play for Sir Lewis Casson and Dame Sybil Thorndike, and they produced that. So she was accepted by the theatre community in a way that people in society in London certainly wouldn't have accepted her, because she looked awkward. But theatre people knew and understood. And so she had a great closeness with them.
So was she writing plays?
She had written plays, and she wrote some plays for the BBC, but primarily her income was for the D.C. Thompson chain of women's magazines, Women's Weekly and so on.
So she was writing a regular contributor
yes,
to
short
the magazine?
stories, and she did, when she went to Spain, and it's in the book, she did write a whole book about her adventures, actually, and what Spain was like just on the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War. And she and her friend who were there at the time just managed to escape to Gibraltar and get home, as, with, again, bombs falling all over the place. But the sadness of what Spain was like originally, and completely changed and horrible when they went through the Civil War.
So what inspired you to write the book?
Oh, well, it's a funny thing. I had always sort of mentally written letters to Nancy. I wasn't very good, because I had a family and was dealing with a million other things happening. I didn't always get my thoughts on paper to her, but she always seemed to know when I was writing. And of course, I wrote to her at Christmas time. But when she died, I had
Which was
this
what year? When did she die?
1994.
Okay.
But I did have the feeling that I couldn't go to England at the time, that something was left undone. And then my 2 young granddaughters, who were at that point in their teens, beautiful young girls, bright, didn't know what they wanted to do with their lives, and they didn't know this. And I thought, I know what I'll do. I will write this book. And I happened to meet someone at the Arts and Letters Club who said he was publishing books about remarkable women. And I said, well, I know one.
Wow.
And he said, well, you have to, is there anything Canadian about it? And I said, well, I guess I'm the only Canadian connection to it. So he said, oh, bring in all sorts of things about yourself as well. So it's a little bit my struggles in London at the time and what happened, but our relationship through the rest of our lives. But it was very funny. Once the book was published and started selling, I was able to put a part of that to bed. You know, I no longer was bothered by the letters that weren't going through. And yet I think she always did know that I was writing.
What do you mean the letters weren't going through?
Well, you know, I mean, mentally I was writing these letters.
And how did she know you were mentally writing these letters?
Because they were telepathically sent.
I think so. I definitely think so.
So were you conversing by phone or something?
Oh, no. Good Lord.
Then how
in
do you
those
know
days,
that she knew?
Oh, well,
they
because...
didn't have cell phones then, Hugh. Hello.
And also, do you know it cost about $10 a minute to telephone from England? I mean, it was dreadful in those days.
They did the homing pigeons. They sent telegrams.
No, the thing was, when I would get a letter from her
Okay.
at Christmas time, and she would have had one from me, she had known some of the things that were happening. Oh, she had all sorts of powers, I'm sure.
It sounds to me like they were soul sisters.
Well, in a funny way, I think we were. And, you know, probably I was the daughter she didn't have. Or never would have
And
had.
she was a second mom to you, said,
Yes, she
right?
was, yes. My own mom was super, but Nancy was so worldly in a way that...
She's like your stage mom.
she was, yes, she was.
So did you continue acting when you were over there?
Oh, yes, I did. I
Okay.
did a number of small films. I mean, they were big films. I had small roles. And then I worked with Michael Redgrave and Vanessa Redgrave in her first film. And I was Miss Manley, and you know, that kind of thing. So I had some fun and some very unpleasant moments too.
Well, if they do a new Sound of Music, I think you should be in the Sound of Music.
Oh my gosh, doing what?
Which role?
Yes.
I think you could be Julianne Andrews. Is that
Oh my heavens! 1,000 years ago, maybe. Yes, but no.
Now, okay, Nancy, so you've written this book, and probably because of your relationship, you're probably the best person to write a biography of Nancy Ford Inman.
Well, I think perhaps that's true because, of course, in doing the research and so on, I talked to everyone. But Nancy and I used to sit by the fire on a, cold winter's night, which happens about 11 months of the year over there. And,
sounds like Canada.
But they don't have central heating.
No, I know. We'd sit in front of the fire with mugs of coffee.
You guys didn't even have the internet then, right?
No, I know. And we didn't have a computer, and Nancy never had a computer. Wow. And when I was writing this book, I thought, my gosh, how did she do it? Her fingers were cramped. They would fall between the track of the old Underwood typewriter. How did she do it for 64 years? Mm-hmm. It was amazing.
Now, was she in a lot of pain?
Oh, yes, and particularly...
Did they have painkillers at that time?
No, well, not the doctor would give her things, but in the end, nothing worked except a little tot of whiskey for 5 minutes. It would help her.
Wow.
I mean, she couldn't
Then
sleep.
you need another one.
Yes. Yeah, and then you couldn't find anybody. In the last 10 years of her life, she was in a wheelchair, which was very sad.
That's the thing about cerebral palsy, right? Because you see the way that the people are, and they look like there's nothing wrong mentally.
No,
right?
that's absolutely
and
it.
it's a prejudice that people make that judgment just
Yes,
because of the way
exactly.
that they physically are.
Yes.
But-
Well, as I say, there are 3 types of cerebral palsy. One really is very bad, and they are sort of out of it. The second one, ataxic, I think it is, yes, they're very, very alert, but they can't communicate. Sometimes they can communicate on amazing technical devices that they have nowadays. They certainly didn't have in Nancy's days. And then there's the spastic, and she could walk, but again, it was awkward, her walking. And then, as I say, her muscles, after years of being told what to do, because that's the whole thing with a spastic or cerebral palsy. You have to tell your muscle to pick up this glass and how to do it and put it down all the time.
So there's
And
there's cellular memory. There's no retention.
No, the brain part, the motion part doesn't work that way. You've got to do it.
So what are you hoping to accomplish with this book? Is it just to share a story about a beautiful relationship? Is it to show about the strength of this woman? Is it to spread information about cerebral palsy?
Well, perhaps a little of all 3, but specifically to tell a story about someone I think was a remarkable role model. And it's interesting because all sorts of different people have read the book and have taken different things from it. Some liked my story. Some said, what an amazing woman she was, how fabulous, and how terrific it was to have met her and been part of her life.
So you think she would have approved of this?
Well, it's very funny. When she was still alive, and I was interviewing her, I said, I've got an idea I would like to write a television script about, little bits of rubbish, she said. Nobody wants to see, someone who looks awful on the screen. That would be terrible. Now, she hadn't seen the film My Left Foot, which, of course, was about someone with cerebral palsy. But she said, it might make a book, but of course I wouldn't want to read it. But I think she
Isn't that
would.
Interesting.
I think she would. I think she'd approve.
And how about your grandchildren? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
How about your grandchildren? Because they were kind of the inspiration behind this book.
They were. Well, the 2 older ones have read it, and they enjoyed it, and their mother enjoyed it, and so on. But I have 3 little ones, and they haven't had a chance to yet. So when they grow up and can read, yes.
Wow.
Then,
nice. Very nice.
Now, do you think you'll be writing any more books?
Well, I've made stabs. I've written one, a small booklet about the memories of a child during the Second World War, a small child in Oakville, Ontario, and which I'll call All's Quiet on the Oakville Front. And my father went off to war. And one of the reasons that prompted me, I kept thinking about how we had to wait for those little blue airmail letters coming up the walk, delivered by the postman, to find out how Dad was and what was happening, compared with our poor troops in Iraq. I mean, in Afghanistan. Thank heavens we weren't in Iraq. But it's such a difference. So I've sort of contrasted the 2.
Wow.
The 2 times.
Yes,
right?
the 2 times.
Where you had to wait for an envelope versus today you could probably talk to them in real time.
Yes, exactly.
On
and I'd
Skype.
Skype them. Yes, exactly.
And they can get Tim Hortons.
Exactly. But the other thing is, of course, war is pretty horrible in any way, and it isn't any easier in Afghanistan. It's just that the communications are better than they used to be.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what are you up to then? I guess you're still acting occasionally?
Yes, and I meet your friend occasionally when we hold up the scenery, in whatever commercial they want us to do. And sometimes, one of the things I do also is to try to have a concert or this last year at our church to raise money for Our Place Peel, which is a home for young people who are between 16 and 21 who are homeless and in desperate circumstances. And that's another whole story. But this last one we did was Jim Bett's wonderful show, musical show, Colors in the Storm, about the death of Tom Thompson.
Oh,
And if you ever have a chance to hear the music, it's marvelous. So
Were
we did
you
that.
actually in it? Were you
Oh,
actually?
I was in it, and I was directing at our church. We had already done one at the Arts and Letters Club.
So you do sing?
Well, not like Julie Andrews, believe me.
See, I was leading into that. See, I was leading into that.
Hey, did they figure out how Tom Thompson died? Did
Well,
they-
there are still two theories about it. They don't figure it out in the play at all. But no, it's he died. He had a gash on his forehead, which could have happened falling out of the canoe. Certainly, they buried the wrong body in Toronto. His body is really, they have discovered his body is up in Algonquin Park.
which is probably where
Is there
He
there's-
wants it.
is there suspicion of murder here?
Oh
or
yes,
Yeah.
oh yes, definitely.
Oh.
They say suicide, but that was one question. It was very. If you ever have a chance to see Colors in the Storm, I do urge you to see it because it's amazing, and the music is beautiful. Jim Bett's music is fabulous.
Okay, Nancy. So now, if people want to get their hands on the book, that's what it looks like right there. Where can they get it?
Well, they can email me if they like at NEKEE @rogers.com. I have a website, and that's www.nancyerbkee.com.
And you've got links to the book and to all your other stuff on the website?
Yes. I would actually, the direct one, if they are interested, is to email me.
Okay.
Okay. Because unfortunately, my publisher, White Knight Publishing, he was a very brave man. He's quite elderly now, but he's gone out of business like so many publishers.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yes, it's tough.
So the on my website, it has his name, but that's really, I think, getting through straight to me would probably be easier.
Okay, so nancyerbkee.com or NEKEE@rogers.com, and we'll
Yeah.
put all that in the credits so people
Yeah.
can get the information.
You know, I don't think
Brilliant.
it's a coincidence that you're both named Nancy.
Now, isn't it odd? There is a theory that Nancy had that specific names ring bells, and that when you say a name, you immediately imagine such and such a thing and such a
I
person.
can't tell you how many times I've met people and they'll have a name and I can't remember the name of that person because they don't look like that
The
name
name
does to
doesn't
me.
Yes.
fit with the person.
It's so
Yes.
bizarre how
Yes,
that
isn't
it's
it
like,
odd?
you don't look like a Julie, you look like an Nancy or something.
Yes,
and
yeah.
it's and so I keep forgetting their name because it just doesn't look. So I don't know what that's all about. But
No,
maybe
well-
there's some truth to what you're saying.
No, it is odd. Well, people have often thought that small picture is a picture of me, because actually,
Did you guys look alike?
well, I didn't think so, and of course at the time I was
That's
about
her.
20.
Well,
That-
you know what? That does kind of look like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
You know.
So there you go. You guys are probably soul sisters.
Yes, there we are.
And that's the way it
our
goes.
next guest is laughing, but that's okay.
Well, we're going to get into it with Jake when we come back. But Nancy, thanks for coming in today and sharing.
Thank
the book
you.
with
Thank
us.
you. It was my pleasure entirely.
Thank you. Thank you for
That's great.
sharing this wonderful woman and yourself too.
Oh, yeah.
Both two wonderful women.
So let's take a little break, shall we?
Okay, sounds good.
We're going to play some more Josh Gabriel and come back with Jake Tiley talking
Excellent.
about
Trading.
all kinds of stuff. Whereas,
Money.
right after this, here on Liquid Lunch, we'll be right back.
with your 6 ultra stairs sitting there, lusting, lurid legs that got me so horny. No, no, woman, you send it to down my spine. You feel a lot like smooth satin sheets on a cool summer breeze. And if you please, well, I'm in need of woman. Well, I was made for love last night, and I knew that I made her struggle. But if she ever comes back my way again, I leave her with, that I had for trouble. Oh, woman, get off, I'm frustrated. Well, is it all in my head? Yes, I could just watch you for miles with that sweet strutting style and the music of you in my bed. And Miss Pancake in the morning, strip joints and I know you're a liar, and you know you never win her. 'Cause I'm the real warm-hearted, passionate lover, gonna kiss you when I greet you and I'm sexy undercovers. I was made for love last night, and I knew that I made her struggle. But if she ever comes back my way again, I leave her with, that I had for trouble. Woman, get off my mind. Kept you quiet in my heart, my soul and in my dreams. I've kept the cold and rainy Sundays and sevenths I've seen. Kept the weary moments quiet, casting passions to the wind. In the mind and heart of memories of life and candles dimmed. I kept the snows and light and winter, cold and savage winds with that's one trails of shattered sails. Seas and oceans, trees, I've kept the warmth of you beside me when the one seems to be there. The last of frozen roses pressed my sleeping was never bare. But now morning is breaking its light. Kept all these on a Sunday night. Sleep is lost inside. Well, the rains of more tranquility, you are not beside me. No, the rains of more tranquility, you are not beside me last night. Kept tomorrow open, winds and sleep early onto the night. Of frozen wounds and naked spoons, and silence does the light. I've laced like coffee heartily, but that biting screech of time requesting long and peaceful days to go with silver moonlit nights. All of these bad binders, sacred weary signs, flowers scented breaths and peace to morning's breaking light. I've kept the warmth of you beside me when the one seems to be there. The last of frozen roses, 'cause my sleeping's never fair. But now morning is breaking its light. Kept all these on a Sunday night.
Welcome back to the show here. We're hitting the home stretch here. We got Jake Tiley joining us.
Switch gears
Market
here.
technician Jake Tiley. Jake, always great to have you on the show.
Hello, Jake.
How you doing?
So maybe we should start with the whole Facebook thing, because Facebook is all the news, all the rage with the
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Markets have been volatile of late, given the questions of Spain being able to pay for anything and its high unemployment and underwater property loans, and the need for more funding from the ECB and the EU and Germany and all that. Facebook hit a new low today. I got out to everyone. 20 people the week that Facebook IPO'd called me. I'd like to buy Facebook. My friend, who's been in the market since 1981 and a futures broker, said, I have a question regarding Facebook. And he asked me the question. He said, what do you think? I said, I'm a little concerned. He said, the last time I saw this was 2000, before the markets fell apart. And I said, well, I'm going to have to watch it. So it opened at 42.05, went to 45 on the issue at 38, what they'd priced in. And when it broke 40, I told the CEO of a medium-sized investment firm, short it with impunity if you can get the stock to borrow it. And it went to 26.35 today.
Wow.
So now,
But
Jake,
it's very hard to short, and I don't recommend anyone short without professional in the room and have a lot of money in case they're wrong.
see, this is what I was telling Sandra
Yes.
before, that you can make money by betting on a stock going down, right?
Right, on the 29th of May, they opened up trading on the options, and it's almost $3 in the money from 5 cents if you had taken a bet since then.
So, okay,
That's
so
a week later and or 2 weeks later.
why is it going down? What is determining?
Yeah, before you even get to that question,
Okay,
Sandra,
okay.
Jake, because,
Newbies, you love them, eh?
well, it's like
So green.
Green newbie. I think that'll be the new frame on our site here.
Thanks, Jake. I'm going to be like the poster girl for
Jake.
someone who doesn't know about stocks.
Jake,
That's the
you
perfect person that can learn, and you're willing to learn and share with people how much you don't know. Because Wall Street is the street where they fool people, and people should remember that.
Jake, let's compare
Interesting.
Facebook with Apple, because I know you're big on Apple. You predicted Apple to go huge, to hit 300, and it
Well,
did.
Actually, I predicted by Valentine's Day in October and November, the last time I was here, around 360 to 380 a share, that it would hit 480, and it on January 24th it was $420. And a specific option strategy that I had laid out for clients that follow me and appreciate my wizardry in trading, as they call it, and my luckiness in trading, as I call it. It went up $76 from $1.20 in 3 weeks, and it hit $641 shortly thereafter. But it was $480 by Valentine's Day, which is good for the girls.
Now, why is Apple so strong and Facebook has performed so poorly? And did you see that before they even did the IPO, that Facebook was going to tank like this?
Well, it's all about sentiment, which is really important to bring to light, which is 20 people that don't invest in stocks called me to be in it. And one person who's been trading since 1981, when you could hear a pin drop on the Toronto Stock Exchange, because interest rates were about 18% to 21% at one point.
Wow.
I was born in 1972 when Nixon went to China, as I like to refer to, and Jack Lemmon was a superstar in the world. So in 1981, Jack Lemmon was still a star, and markets were a little different than they are today.
Yeah, because all the money's in bonds, right?
All the money was in bonds.
Well, yeah.
You
But-
can't get paid anymore in bonds, so people have to be in equities and in the illusion of what's working in the world, which is growth, which it isn't, which I've shared on this program before as well.
Okay, so sentiment. So the thing about Facebook was the people who weren't used to being in the market all wanted to buy Facebook.
Facebook was supposed to IPO at around $28 a share, which would have provided maybe a lift to the market. It opened around the night before. They decided to put a new price target of $38 an issue and issued more shares. When an IPO doesn't perform very well, from its issue day, like Facebook performed from 42.05 to 45, and then that Friday at 10 to 4 when I was at the keg and I was asked if I wanted some wine from the CEO of that investment firm, I said 10 minutes to 4 I still have to trade, so discipline over conviction. I ordered a cranberry and soda and everyone laughed, but I said if Facebook breaks 40, this will be the short of, and you can borrow the stock, it'll be a very good short. 30% later, a week later, it was at $31 and heading south. Now
What
we're
is it now?
questioning. It's around $26.35.
Okay.
There's still a thought that they're going to pull out the rabbit out of the hat and it'll go up to 40 or 45 somehow in the next 6 months. But I believe that having made so many mistakes, and that's basically what I do. I made all the mistakes so you don't have to in the market. And I cover stocks and I cover options on stocks, futures trading, which is highly risky, and trading analytics, which is really the science of trading and analysis of the markets.
So you mentioned some of the problems with Facebook are sentiment, market volatility. But what about the fundamentals of Facebook versus Apple?
I think, Apple is a completely different animal. Apple is a brand that everyone loves, that trades at a small price to earnings multiple of around 12, that does $13 billion a quarter, and is about a $600 billion market cap that could go to possibly $1 trillion, given that 16% of its revenue comes from China last quarter, and until China really slows down, it could go up to 25 to 30% revenue from the Chinese customers.
Okay, so coming from a green newbie, to me, I would think that Apple would be a much more secure bet just because Apple gives you actual products. Facebook is a service. There's nothing real there.
It's hard to measure the intangible, but I heard of an average per user revenue of $119 as their target, and they have
For Facebook.
And they have 900 million users, 80% of which are out of the U.S.
But how do you know this is not just more hype?
Well, how do you monetize that and other stuff too? It's a really, social media is something I'm familiar with. I'm on Twitter with almost 600 followers now. And based on some really lucky, good, well-timed calls, like the market going down at 14.15 on the S&P, which is a broader index of market companies called the Standard & Poor's 500 index. Mm-hmm. It touched 1282 in the 1282s, 20 days after that call, which was a pretty good call. What people have to understand about that is that markets move with sentiment and other intermarket dynamics that make it a little more difficult for the average person to really get involved with.
I think markets move with hype.
Well, they do move with hype, but given that Apple's still got growth potential, Apple TV could come out in the next...
Well, but there you go. But those you have, those are the tangibles. Any social, like if Twitter goes IPO...
Oh, it's over. I mean, if Twitter goes IPO, I'll be in that issue somehow. I used Twitter for 2 years. I saw my mentor go from 0 followers to 91,000 followers in 2 years, and he has a service that's $150 to $400 a month.
Okay, so you're saying if Twitter went IPO, buy the stock, buy in.
Yeah, you have to look for an entry. I'm a trader, so I look at smart entry points and smart exit points. But yeah, Twitter could be the migration tool of the world that Facebook is
tried
competing
to be
against.
And couldn't be.
Although Zuck at Vidi, which is his Vidi is formatting for video, he's recently joined that company. That could be the next purchase. And based on the purchase, the $1 billion purchase of Instagram, which is formatting for the iPhone for photos, that actually could be a smart acquisition. They paid $1 billion. They'd had 13 million users at the time, and it had virtually no revenue, but it could be up 5 times revenue in the next 5 years. So it might be the smartest purchase he's ever done.
And you think that would help Facebook stock?
Well, it would be, it would give about 5 billion more revenue. So it's got 5 billion revenue now. You could see it around $45 based on that, if they monetize their average per user revenue.
Okay, Jake.
Now Spain. This is what we'll talk about.
Okay.
Just kidding. I said I was worried about it falling apart, but evidently that happened.
Well, how about,
It already happened? Spain fell apart already?
and Greece, isn't Greece just going to do their own thing now?
Yeah, Greece is pretty much gone.
Does that mean Europe is gone?
Yes.
So what's going to happen?
In short,
what's going to
yes.
happen?
Well, we're going to have to go and buy some Italian property and some Spanish property on discount. I'd like to go to Marbella. Wouldn't you? Let's go Marbella. Wouldn't you like to go to Marbella? The coast
when
of
the weather's
Spain.
good. When the weather's
good. I have a place in Malta, so that works really well.
Okay. Because you can't get a place in Tuscany. Just no places in Tuscany.
How come?
I don't know.
I'd love to get a place in Tuscany.
But okay, Jake, what's going to happen with all this stuff that's going on with? Because people are
Smoke and
saying now,
mirrors.
people are saying that Canada's going to be vulnerable.
Well, wait a second. How about the dollar crashing? Don't you think the dollar's just going to crash?
That's a 35% stimulus to the U.S. economy. So in the year of a presidential election where Mitt Romney, barring a sex scandal, because he is from that part of the world, barring a sex scandal, he should be the next leader of the free world, as they say.
You think he's going to beat out Obama?
Oh, yes.
What?
Yes.
Jake.
I know diehard Democrats that won't vote for Obama, and they're in the U.S., and they are diehard Democrats.
Do you think they know this in that circle?
Oh yeah, I think the market is a discounting mechanism, as I'd like to say. If you can scroll down just to the
We're looking at
research in
Jake's
motion,
website here now,
and I'll show you what.
softanalytics.net.
Yeah, just scroll down
scrolling
quickly. Yep, you can go.
Say
you can
when.
go even more quickly. Right there, a little up.
A little up.
Yeah, a little up. Right there. Last year at a fashion show, and this is a metaphor analogy to work with, I saw girls with their Blackberries taking a picture of the fashion show on the runway. And they were like this, but they were in their heels standing looking at the girls with the iPhones. That was $60 a share on a Friday at a really cool club called Ultra Club.
Okay.
In Ultra Supper Club, now called the Cube Club. I leaned over to the gentleman there, and I said, short rim tomorrow. Of course, it was a Friday, so you'd have to short on a Monday. And he leaned over about 15 seconds later and said, why? And I said, better resolution. He went to the bar, and I haven't been able to buy a drink since with him, because he went to all of his friends and said, you got to meet this guy who said that rim was something that was going to go to zero. Now, I didn't mean it was going to go 0. I meant it was going to go 5. One of the largest investment firms in Canada, Jaroslawski Fraser, Stephen Jaroslawski, had 10 million shares at $60, and he got rid of 5 million shares at $29. Today, it hit a new low around $9.40 a share. That's $9.40 from 60.
Wow.
People were all about RIM being taken over. This is sort of the sentiment in the markets. If it's in the news, it's already passed. Look to the future. You were right about Apple earlier, because you have a good, keen sense of a consumer product you can touch. If you can touch it and understand it, there's probably going to be some hype with that, but you're also going to be able to understand it and thus buy it.
And you can prove it more too. You can actually say we sold this much, or there's more tangible proof, as opposed to a social network, which is based on there's nothing tangible to measure.
How do you value social network?
That's how I don't understand how you could IPO something like that.
Well, the banks, the investment banks that did.
Psychological.
Remember, we started the show with Wall Street is a street where they fool people.
Yeah.
That's
yes,
key to
exactly.
remember.
Yeah.
It is definitely the street where they fool people. They wear blue so they can be in communication, dark blue. They wear red ties to evoke power. They wear white shirts so they evoke trust. It's really just a theater of the absurd. that we keep watching over and over and over until a new game comes along. Welcome to the Renaissance, as I like to say.
Isn't that interesting?
So what's the new game going to be, Jake? I know before you were talking about, and I remember this
Community.
and you mentioned local food
Community.
as well.
Rice. I looked at an incredible statistic about the Chinese going into milk, and they're getting rid of rice pastures to grow, pastures for milk.
You know,
Think about that.
some people forecast down the line down, and I'm not sure that they're with traders, but they say that food is going to be the currency.
Oh, I think food and trust is going to be the currency. I think if everyone at this
Integrity.
in this medium, in this internet world, were to get a site and be their star of their own show, and build their currency build their brand based on a currency of trust, and serving the community in their special strength, their passion. I've heard two women today that just are incredibly inspirational, in Shelley and Clark. And I'm familiar with free trade in a big way. I did a report on it, asked Ed Broadbent personally what the implications were. Of course, he had to speak off record. And then, with Nancy Erb Kee, wonderful story of someone that she met when she was younger, and great actress still. So, I mean, if these people were able to put sites together that were like mine in terms of they look fresh, they look inviting. If you scroll down my site to the bottom, there's a key
Scrolling
aspect.
down now.
Yeah, scrolling down now. Okay, just a bit up. So a little
We
up.
are listening.
We are listening. Why not just everyone set up their own site, their own star, and listen to what people want and link to what they need?
I think
Wow.
you're right about that, Jake.
Wow.
But in the meantime,
That's why he's changed even the name of what you do. You're not a trader anymore. Because
Yeah.
even that word invokes lack of trust, right? When you think of the word trader, you're now a market technician.
Financial market technician is what somebody called me. Clairvoyant is what somebody called me. And socially inept is what somebody called me. So I'm working on the socially inept. And trading is just taking advantage of dislocations in market sentiment and pricing of market fundamentals.
okay, Jake, with this
Wow.
as a market technician and using your moon phases and everything else, where are we going with the markets? It's very volatile right now. Europe is falling apart. God knows what's going to happen to
And
the Canadian
Venus
real
is
estate
transiting
market,
the sun for the first time
You know,
in 300 years.
which is a big, yeah.
Which I've been watching as well. Lunar cycles are important. I work with one of the best market cycles technicians in the world. He was 16 years with Goldman, so I work with him. I'll be working with one of the legendary traders in Canada with 300,000 readers.
So you
As-
actually work with the lunar cycles.
I work with lunar cycles, and I love women, so I have to follow them anyway. With that in
I
mind,
was just going
though,
to say, I'm a moon sign. You know what? Just give me a call. I'll tell you. I'm Cancer, which is the moon.
I'm
So-
Aquarius, so I'm working on that. But I guess what. Repeat the question, because she spun me off.
Well, where are we going with the markets, Jake?
Where are we
It's
going
so
with the markets? I
volatile.
think we're going to see lots of volatility. The London lift for the Olympics, so they need the UK feeling really good about itself, and usually there's a rise in markets when the Olympics get going. I love diamonds. I've studied diamonds for 7 years, and I'm just buying small diamond junior companies with smart women at the helm. And women in mining are going to rule Canada in the next 5 years. And some of the companies that I follow are very speculative, which means you can lose all your money. But if you buy $500 worth or $250 worth in the next 3 to 5 years, you may be able to assist your kids to go to college.
Wow.
Well, plus it's great that there are diamonds in Canada now, and a lot of Canadian diamond
Well, we
companies.
founded a Caddy Diamond Mine in the Diavik Mine in Northwest Territories and Nunavut, and there's going to be fantastic companies like Olivit Resources. As a market technician, I spotted it at 25 cents. It went to $2. It looks like it could fall to 80 cents. It's now at $1.40, $1.50.
Okay, I want to ask you, at what expense or what kind of damage are we doing to our planet by mining?
Well, hopefully, hopefully what happens is that the women at the helm really care about the community, and 3 of the top diamond companies in Canada are driven and run by really cool women. And I think that's something to really consider going forward.
But Jake, with all these diamonds, because I thought that the price of diamonds was kind of kept artificially high, and the market had to be managed, and yet here's all these new producers coming on stream. Is that going to mess with the pricing
of diamonds and diamond junior exploration companies is a little different. I don't look at the monopoly that De Beers has. I look at the fact that a week after I decided to have a site that focused exclusively on diamond junior companies and everything about diamond exploration, a private investor called me and said, I've got some people out of Europe that are interested in buying into a diamond presence in Canada. And I said, how big are they? Oh, they're like De Beers, but they're private. So then you get the Rothschilds, you get the Rockefellers, and then you get the Bilderbergs.
No connection here.
All tied in to weave the fabric of the show, because community is going to be where the platform lies. And that's one thing about Facebook is that they don't make money they don't make the company make money. They make products in the company so that they can, build. They make the money to build better products for their customers. So far, Timeline is evidence that they haven't been able to achieve that, but their currency is the community connection, and that's something to watch going forward.
So do you think, now that Facebook is IPO, that they will ever charge a membership fee?
Yes. Everyone's going to charge a membership on the net.
To become a Facebook member, like right now it's free.
Can you imagine Twitter? I mean, I have 600 followers, and I haven't even gone out and marketed my service with one business card in the last 2 years. I have 596
so it's
followers.
Just a matter of time before Facebook does charge.
At 10,000 users on Twitter, I'd be beholden to Twitter, and I would gladly pay for $100 a month minimum. And I know traders that live by Twitter. I mean, real successful traders that live by Twitter. And that's the thing. The net is going to be something so much a part of us that we're going to have to pay for it anyway. So why not pay for the services that you trust? I mean, I know that people ask me, instead of just going to my site, they want me to manage, hundreds of thousands of dollars per person. I have 75 people now on my database in my circle at $50,000 minimum per person that's come to the site. I'm not managing money. I have no interest in managing money, but I certainly might start a fund in the near future.
Okay, Jake. So what should people...
I understood none of that.
What should people take away from this in terms of, the markets? What can we expect over the next little bit?
Be selfish, start your own community action, and build on your strengths in that community, serving people that you trust and that can make you better. Go with your strengths, as Peter Drucker, the great management consultant, said. The weaknesses are there to teach how good you can be with your strengths open for the world to see.
Okay. All right, Jake. And if people want to get in touch with you, and who should get in touch with you?
Everybody.
Okay.
I wouldn't even know what to ask.
That's the thing. What do you want to know about markets, and how do you make money in...
I just want to know how not to hurt Mother Earth.
How not to hurt Mother Earth. I'll send you we'll get you...
Just look at the website.
Scroll down at the bottom and we'll get you
talk.
signed up.
See,
and one of the benefits of this is I don't send out anything to the members or the subscribers. They email me or call me if they have a question regarding the markets and how to navigate the turbulent waters.
Okay, well, with these waters as turbulent as they are, it's probably a good idea.
Interesting times, eh?
And opportunistic. I mean, we're going to make a lot of money in the next 2 weeks if we go up to 1,300 in the S&P. Right now we're at 1277, last count.
Okay. All right, Jake. Thanks for doing this today.
Thank
and
you,
again,
Jake.
people can check out the website softanalytics.net, and that's it.
That was a
Thank you, Jake.
fast show.
It lasted as long as every other show.
Wow, must be the red shirt.
It's no, I think it's because it's Tuesday, and it's June.
June, yeah. Okay, all right.
Okay, Sandra, thanks for doing this again today.
Thank you, Hugh. High five.
High five. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jake. Thanks, Nancy and Shelley Ann. And we'll see y'all tomorrow for more Liquid Lunch right here on thatchannel.com. See you then.
Kept you quiet in my heart, my soul and in my dreams. I've kept the cold and rainy Sundays and sevens I've seen. Kept the weary moments quiet, casting passions to the wind. And the mind and heart of memories alive and candles dim. But kept the snows and light and winter, cold and savage winds with that's one trails of shattered sails. Seas and oceans, trees, I've kept the warmth of you beside me when the one seems to be there. The last of frozen roses pressed my sleeping's never bare. But now morning is breaking its light. Kept all these on a Sunday night. Sleep is lost inside. Well, the rains of more tranquility. You are not beside me. No, the rains of more tranquility. You are not beside me last night. Kept tomorrow open, winds and sleepily until the night. I'm cruising wounds and naked spoons. The silence does the light. I've laced like coffee heartily. But that bright and screech of time, requesting long and peaceful days to go with silver moonlit nights. All of these bound by me, sacred weary signs. Flowers scented breaths and peaceful mornings breaking light. I've kept the warmth of you beside me when the one seems to be there. The last of frozen roses crisp, but sleeping's never bare. But now morning is breaking its light. Kept all these on a Sunday night. The sleep is lost inside. Well, the rains took more tranquility. You are not beside me. No, the rains took more tranquility. You are not beside me last night. keeps smoking. Cake, no. You have to choose a path you're gonna take, and it's alright. It's just a matter of time. Words you wanna say don't get spoken, and you're mad 'cause Uncle Jay keeps talking. Friends till the bitter end, and I'm waiting for my dreams to come true. You see, I'm tearing on my insides and drowning in my past life, so I'll never make love to you. When the autumn leaves are falling and the winter breeze is calling, I'll remember those warm nights in my bed. But the past has been revealing that all that I've been feeling are just memories that I've had in my head. Another face to remind me I've begun to be one man. Tell where I'm going, but I'm always stuck with knowing that the one that I love I'll never have. So I'll sing about my heartache and cry on my death wakes, with the hopes that someday I will understand. Another face to remind me I've begun